Hey guys, this is Tarot with Kittens, Weights, and Tarot, and today I'm doing a video on all of my floral and herb decks. So I made a video with like my animal decks before, and I did a video with all of my goddess decks, but I'd be interested to hear like what other types of groupings of decks you guys would want to hear from me. Like, do you want to see like moon type decks? Do you want to see I don't know, maybe like photography type decks or nature decks? Actually, that's what I kept out of this video, is I do not have my nature decks in here. Like, this is really just flowers and herbs instead of like, you know, spots in nature. I kind of tried to keep that out of this list. And then photography decks, you know, but I think I've done a video on like my dark decks, and I did a video on like collage decks, but that was a while back. So if you wanted to see an updated version of that, I could totally do that. But we have quite a few decks to show off, and ended up having to do a voiceover because for some reason the audio didn't record. I was like, what? So yeah, let's go into our decks. Okay, so the very first deck is the Language of Flowers, and this is by Sherilyn Darcy. And I found out through making this video that I actually have quite a few decks of hers. But yeah, this one I just like to use as like a daily draw, or I use it in conjunction with tarot. I don't really read with this on its own. I also like to use it as like a theme card, you know, maybe for a deck. But I love that it has that very simple black background, and you know, it really has the flowers pop, and it has, you know, the name of the flower and its Latin name and like a little ditty, you know, about it. So yeah, I really like this deck, and I decided to include some music in this video as well, so you guys can just kind of chillax and take a look at all these gorgeous decks. Okay, so again, that was the Language of Flowers. And then this next deck, it's in a pouch, but this is the Magic of Flowers? Yes. It is the Magic of Flowers by Tess Whitehurst. And I've had this deck for quite some time, and at first I found it really hard to work with just because I didn't know, like, I didn't have a relationship with all the flowers in the deck. So it was kind of hard to like get meaning out of it because there's no keyword and there's no little thing on the card about it. However, the guidebook is really good. The guidebook has a lot of information, but for me, I don't like to rely on a guidebook when I do my readings. You know, I like to mainly go with my intuition, so I would try to read just kind of like based off what the pictures were, but I really wanted to have a deeper understanding of the flowers. So I did do a deeper study of these particular flowers, and I actually used flower books that I have. You know, I have quite the library with like herbs and flowers and garden stuff, so that I could become more acquainted with it, and I could give, you know, better readings, you know, if I were going to use this with clients, which I did not at first, but now I do, because now I do understand those flowers. And I also like to use this for chakra work as well, because as you can see, it has lots of color, so I think it's great for that. And jasmine being my favorite flower next to roses. Okay. And I love that little pouch, by the way. I got that in Old Town. And this other little pouch here, I got that from an Etsy shop called My Grandmother's Hands. And they just make such beautiful little tarot and oracle pouches. It's got like a little crystal on it. But this deck here, this is the Hedge Botanical Oracle. Yeah. And I've also, again, had this for a little while. Most of these decks I've had for, you know, they're not new. Maybe one is new-ish, but most of these are pretty old. And this one again is very simple. It does have, you know, the word and the keyword. I mean, like what the plant is and the keyword. But it's simple in color, and you can see that it's comprised of maybe 1 or 2 colors on each card, which again is really good for chakra work. So yeah, I'll let you guys just kind of look at those cards. So pretty. Okay, so again, those were the Hedge Botanical Oracle. And I like reading with those on their own, by the way. Okay, so this one was a little bit harder for me to connect with because unlike the Hedge Botanical Oracle, that one had like at least a couple of colors, and in this deck, the colors are all pretty similar. Like it's the same 2 or 3 colors on a lot of the cards. So I really have to go off of like the shape of the flower and you know, the flower name. And of course there's a keyword on here, but I mean, I love the Pythia Botanical Oracle. Like, don't get me wrong, like I love their stuff and I wish I had all of their decks. They are kind of pricey, but I don't want to knock that because they have excellent cardstock, like the gilded edging, like the whole everything. Like I understand things are expensive when you're like an indie deck creator, so I'm not mad at that. I understand they got to charge what they charge. But yeah, it just took me a while to connect with this, and now I feel, now that I have like a better understanding of flowers and plants and kind of like in the habitats that they grow and what they could be used for and how they could be dangerous, you know, but how they're useful. I think I just have a deeper connection to decks like this, whereas before I'm just like so visual, like I need a lot going on in my card for me to understand like what's going on. So simpler decks were not my jam, like at the beginning. But now they are, you know, I'm into busy as much as I am simplistic. And yeah, I love that tea stained look, by the way. You're probably gonna see like a pattern with all of the decks that I show. Okay, the Nature Speak Oracle by Ted Andrews. I have a lot of his stuff. I have his he has a different oracle deck. It's one with birds, and then he has like an animal tarot deck, and I have his like his animal speak runes, and you know, he was just a lovely soul in the community and had such a wealth of information. And this deck, this was kind of like my outlier deck in this whole thing because it kind of has nature places. And I know I said I was trying to keep those out because yes, it has fruits and it has herbs and it has plants, but it also has like rainbow and clouds and you know, stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not really floral or herby, but most of the deck is. So that was kind of like it sort of fits this category. But yeah, I'll let you guys just gaze at these beautiful cards. This next deck is the Nature's Pharmacy deck, and this is by the New York Botanical Gardens. So this is not really like an oracle deck, it's more to showcase some of the older depictions of plants and flowers, and to have a really nice description on the back, so it doesn't have like, you know, designed backs, you know. And the little pamphlet in there is really not that helpful, but this is my go-to deck for making tea. Like if I need help, you know, with something, I got, you know, I'm bloated or I don't feel good or I have a sore throat, I'll just ask this deck to show me like, you know, some herbs that I have on hand, and you know, help me out. But you can see it's got a lot of information on the back, along with current uses, background information, its genus, and all that stuff. But yeah, I love, again, this aged look, you know, as you guys will see here with a lot of my decks. But I use this deck a lot for tea, actually mainly for tea. So I don't really use it in any other readings other than for making tea. But yeah, I know that there's some plants in here that like I'm not really that familiar with, or not really familiar with, but like I don't have on hand, so I just kind of put that out there when I'm making my tea of like, hey, you know what I have and what I don't have, so. Okay, and then moving on to our next deck. And that one is the Floriography Tarot. And the creator of that deck, by the way, is the one that kind of gave me that boost and that confidence to finally put up my own oracle deck, my Wally's World Oracle. She was really instrumental in that. I support her. I always try to give her a shout out whenever I can. I think that, you know, I love her indie deck. I love the depictions of family members, because this has a lot of family members in there, but the focus is on flowers, hence Floriography Tarot. So she's renamed a lot of the suits, so you'll see there's a particular flower for swords and for cups and for pentacles and for wands. And so yes, this does have people in it, but I love that it really has the, you know, the flowers, and you'll see that I have her, well, you can see her website in case you're interested in checking it out, because I think that this is fabulous. So another one of those exception decks that it has people, I know, but it's got lots of flowers. And this next deck is the Botanical Inspirations Oracle. One of my fave decks, and this is by Lynn Araujo. Yeah, I have read with this alone, like all by itself, or I also read it with like other oracle cards or tarot cards. I've used it for, you know, daily pick-a cards. Like this, I love this deck so much. Like this deck is my heart. And this deck, by the way, it's pretty hard hitting for a flower deck. So yeah, also you can see that tea stain look. It has the Latin name, it has the regular name of the plant. It also has a keyword, and down below you'll see that there is a quote that best fits the flower. So yeah, I'm really loving this deck as well. And this next deck is the Flowers Oracle by Antonella Castelli. And this one I don't really use in client readings. Like, this is a personal deck, and by the way, those backings, so gorgeous. The artwork, like the whole thing is gorgeous. It just has the name of the plant and then a beautiful picture to go along with it. But a lot of these plants are not native to where I live, so I'm not that familiar with them. And a lot of the plants books I have for my area also do not list these plants, so I actually have to like look at some of like my books from the UK, you know, of plants from Europe and stuff like that. I mean, obviously like pine and yes, walnuts, all of those, like we have those, but some of them we don't. So it just made it a little bit harder to connect with this deck, not having a full background on some of those plants. So I don't really read for clients with it because I hate to bust out a book like in the middle of a reading. Like, it makes me feel like like I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I know what I'm doing, but when I don't understand the flower, you know, it makes it hard. So this is more just for personal use. And the Magical Herb Oracle. This is by Sherilyn Darcy. And I did a review of this like this past Sunday, so if you're interested, take a look. Actually, by the way, I've done a review of almost like every one of these decks. So if you want a more in-depth look at each of the cards, you want a proper review, definitely check out my playlist that I have where it says deck reviews. And what I love about this one is, yes, the plant is in the foreground, but in the background in like pale gray, like you'll see like more of the meaning of the plant. So you see like the digestive tract and like some other stuff going on. So when it says like detox, you're like, oh, okay, so that's what this plant does. You know, you get some extra information. So I say this is more user-friendly for some people not that familiar with, you know, every single little plant that's out there, you know, not like a plant guru, a plant master. But yeah, I love this deck a lot. Every now and then I'll use this in conjunction with my Nature's Pharmacy deck for making tea. And the guidebook is great, by the way. So I love when with herbal decks, they also have a fantastic guidebook. I think that just really helps. Oh yes, my other love, The Witch's Kitchen, by Barbara Meiklejohn Free and Flavia Kate Peters, and also some beautiful artwork. Not by those two. Those two did the guidebook and kind of just like putting the deck together, but different illustrator. But yeah, I love the guidebook in this one. Like I have used this so many times during my live chats, like when we're doing some like witchy, like kitchen witch type stuff, you know. I love this for live chats. I love this like just like to whip something up in the kitchen. Like, I love when you can pair oracle decks that are freaking awesome with a recipe book, and that's what the guidebook is. It's like a recipe book on how to use this particular plant, and also it's written in a way as if the plant was talking to you. And also the images that you see, it's like basically the uses for that plant. And there's also a little Loki in every picture. So this is basically like the Loki deck. And this is the Enchanted Blossoms deck by Morrow, I believe. The last name is Morrow. You guys could probably see it in the video. It's just hard for me to see as I'm doing this voiceover. But it has the tea stained look, of course, that I love. It's nice big cards, beautiful backs, and it has flowers and plants, yes, so that's mainly why I have included it in this list, but it also has butterflies, as you can see, and the butterflies are actually attached to little dragons, so that makes it like really magical and cool and mythical. But down at the bottom, it'll have the name of the plant and the name of the butterfly. You know, and you know, the guidebook is pretty helpful too. But I just love that the butterflies are little dragons. You know, it's like little garden fairies, but in dragon form, and yeah, it's just really beautiful. Okay, so the Herb Crafter Tarot the artwork by Joanna Powell Colbert, and it was written by Letitia Guthrie. But this is probably like one of my most heavily used decks. Like, I just love this deck so much. It does have a lot of just plants. However, in the court cards, you'll see hands. And that's the only time you see like any human form. It's just the hands of the court cards. It is rather feminine, like it's just female, like the court cards, like the page, the knight, the queen, and the king. They're all female. And that was like an issue that some people had, is they do enjoy, you know, having you know, feminine type decks, but they figured for like the herb crafter, it's like almost like eliminating that men could also be herb crafters as well. But for me, I just really connect with it, and it's just probably because you know, I had a hard time connecting with like the feminine and the divine feminine and all of that for, you know, most of my upbringing. So I'm leaning more towards, you know, those type of decks. So for me, I love it because I'm trying to temper a lot of the masculine that's been in my life with a lot of the feminine. And the art in this deck, by the way, is like with color pencil, and it's so beautiful. So yeah, I definitely, in fact, I had to take it away from next to my bed because I'm still using it. And this is the Flower of Life Oracle by Denise Jarvie. And I've had this for a few years now, I think, and I remember doing a review a long time ago, and the creator reaching out saying she loved my review, so I was like, oh, fangirl. But this one is gorgeous. It has information on the back of the card. So you notice on the front of the card, there's these beautiful photographic images, lightly photoshopped, and they all have all these like beautiful colors. So again, I can use it for a chakra deck and kind of like tapping into where I'm at, you know, in terms of like my energy wheels. But on the back side, it'll give you a keyword, but then it gives you like almost like a meditation, and some stuff to think about and possibly journal for each of the cards. So I have used it in a spread, but I think for me, my favorite way to use this is like a card of the day. But you know, can we just have a moment with these images? And here are the flower reading cards, again by Sherilyn Darcy, because apparently I'm a fan and I didn't realize that till I put my floral decks together and I was like, holy crap, do I have like 3 of this woman's decks? Like, and I have one of her decks on my wish list on Amazon. Of course, another floral deck, and it's an affirmation deck, kind of like the very first deck I showed you at the beginning of this video. The backs are gorgeous. And you see it has, again, you know, it's like the name of the plant, but you also have a keyword that goes with it. I really jive with her artwork. It's awesome. And I had the night, it was called the night flowers or something like that. And it was like more flowers and stuff from Australia, which maybe these are too. But I just didn't really connect with that one. Even though I kind of like night type decks. So I've kept this one because I still really connect with it, but I have since gifted the other one because I love to gift my decks. But yes, it still is an often used deck. And oh my gosh, you're getting round to the very last deck. Oh! And this is the Druid Plant Oracle. And you guys might notice the artist there. Yes, Will Worthington. He's not the creator of the deck. That's written up at the top. You guys can see. But he's done a lot of wonderful artwork for a few different decks, and this being one of them that I love so much. These are massive cards, by the way, and yes, like a lot of these decks are these plants are not native to where I live, so I've had to use like the guidebook and reference books of like European plants. Oh, and then you can see here, like you could add your own plants. There was a few cards where you can add your own plants that were, you know, not a part of this deck. So I did that, and I had such a better connection with this deck when I could add like plants from my own area. It just seemed to let everything be a little bit more seamless, because you can see there's no real keyword. It's just the name of the plant. But I've since become pretty familiar with them. Plus, Will Worthington does some fabulous art, so there's a lot of extra going on in the images that you can kind of figure out like what that all means. So yeah. Oh my gosh, we made it through all of those decks. So like I said, if you have any ideas of deck collections you would like me to show you, I like showing off like, you know, different like groups of, you know, decks like this, because it gives people like ideas of maybe, you know, they've been looking for a floral deck, or they've been looking for like a goddess deck, you know, or an animal deck or whatever it may be, and they're like, oh hey, you know, I didn't even know that one existed. Or maybe you have some of these decks and you're like, hey, I haven't used that in a while, I forgot how gorgeous it is, maybe I want to bust that back out again. So yeah, that's really just kind of the purpose of making this video. And yeah, I mean, if you guys dug it, then please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to click that notification bell, and don't forget to click subscribe for more videos just like this. And if you want to catch a reading from me, head over to www.kittenswaitsandtarot.com. I have a lot of different readings. I have my room and body sprays, my bracelets that I make, and I also have my Wally's World Oracle, which was community created and community funded. Yes, it's got a lot of beautiful flowers on there from my garden, but I couldn't include it in this list because it's more photography of sacred places. So it's not really herbs or flowers. It has flowers in it, but it's more of just like places around the world. But hey, maybe you want a video of photography decks or places around the world. So yeah, and if you want to send a little love my way, think about joining that KWT tribe at patreon.com/kittenswaitsandtarot. And we have tons of stuff over there. We have like weekly channel guidances and crystal grids and crystally weekly goodness and live chats about, witchy stuff and mediumship live chats. And we also have like monthly readings and all kinds of stuff like that. So if that interests you, definitely come on over. And don't forget, on my website, kittenswaitsandtarot.com, sign up for my newsletter. So if you're into some witchy DIY and looking at decks that I'm using for the month and stuff like that, sign up for my newsletter. Absolutely free. I only hit your inbox once a month, and that's it. Like, I don't do any spammy, no like promotional stuff. It's just like, hey, here's a newsletter full of awesome magical stuff. So definitely sign up if you are interested. And I guess that's it for me, spiritual homies. I'll catch you later. Peace, love, and chicken grease. Peace out.